From potentially throwing hands to Twitter fingers versus thread fingers, the quickly ended fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg gaining steam again online. The two CEOs now locked head-to-head in a battle for consumers' attention after Meta launched its Twitter killer app, Threads, on Wednesday evening. The latest Meta family member already boasts over 10 million users and more set to join. Let's bring in Mark Schmullick, Bernstein internet research analyst, to talk about what Threads can do for Meta. So is it a Twitter killer, Mark?
Look, we're in the first pitch of the first inning, so far too early to tell whether it will or won't, take on and challenge other apps in the space. But, ChatGPT got a lot of buzz for getting to 1 million users in 5 days. Threads did it in a few hours.
So will advertisers flock to Threads?
If and it's a big if, that we see this application kind of take on engagement. So it's one thing to get, initial adoption, people downloading it, they'll try it out. What you really need is that re-engagement. Otherwise, the app collects kind of, the effective dust on the digital shelf. But if you get the re-engagement and it becomes a sticky app with real utility, then the advertisers, I fully believe, will follow. This is not a near-term thing, but one of the ways or the primary way that you sign up for Threads is you use your Instagram account. And so your profile ports over. And so all of the targeting capabilities that Meta has to bring to bear to show you ads on Instagram, it could take a lot of that same data and behavior and effectively apply it to a brand new screen with brand new ad inventory.
Mark, did you join it last night, and what'd you think?
I did. Proudly, I was very early on. You could track your number on Instagram of when you joined. And look, it's certainly a fun app to use. A lot of similarities with Twitter, certainly. You could see the recommendation algorithm at work of effectively sourcing content from outside of my network as well. But look, there's still a lot of features that I would love to see that haven't yet come. Searching for content, a follower page specifically, direct messaging, etc. As Zuck says, it's version 1. We're just getting started.
All right, so, we've seen so many iterations of features or apps or services that Meta platforms has either acquired or brought about or built out themselves that really just kind of mimic other ones out there, whether you look towards Snapchat, whether you look towards some of the features that they've copied with TikTok and made that into Reels. This just another instance now for people to look at Twitter versus Threads to decide, okay, which experience do they like better when both of them really do the same thing. So at the end of the day, does Facebook need to come up with anything brand new as long as they're able to just mimic something else well enough?
I think one of Meta's real strengths is this ability to execute. It's not about coming up with new ideas from scratch per se. It's about figuring out what formats work and doing it better and scaling it faster than anybody else. That's their strength, as you've mentioned. Their ability to effectively build out a short form video product inside of their existing applications with Reels. To their view, if you think about the game of kind of what they do and what they sell, which is they're trying to entertain you and give you an opportunity to connect in as many different ways as possible, and they monetize it via advertising, which is really just a function of how well they can target you, but also how much time you spent within their kind of ecosystem. And so if they see an opportunity to kind of expand their product suite or their application suite into something that's very text-based, which is a little bit different than how their other applications effectively work, solves an incremental use case and effectively draws more time into their ecosystem, then they're best able to monetize it. And that's really been one of their key strengths as a business pretty much since the beginning.
So is Meta, remember they were supposed to fight. So is Meta now the heavyweight that won this round, or too soon to tell?
Look, far too soon to tell, but certainly we see a very different kind of Meta before us today, where, it wasn't too long ago where we were wondering whether TikTok was going to eat their business, whether Apple had permanently impaired their ability to monetize via advertising. And here we see a Meta on the front foot, going after newer opportunities rather than simply defending the fort. So it's a really exciting time to watch what's happening.
Does this lead you to upgrade Meta in any form? How do you rethink what the valuation should look like on this company? Is there any type of multiplier that Threads gives a Meta versus some of the other social companies that are publicly traded?
Not yet. That's the short answer, is not yet. The longer answer is, my general mantra as I think about internet and consumer internet particularly is it's incredibly difficult to change consumer behavior, to create something new. Sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle, sometimes you execute and it works, but it's putting the cart before the horse to effectively assume that this is going to take off and see real returning user engagement in a whole new way. Of how we use an entirely different app. Remember, for all the successes that we've talked about with what they've done with stories and what they've done with Reels, I can recall not too long ago when they were very excited to launch, Facebook Shops, and we really haven't seen that materialize and develop the way, we might have thought about kind of Facebook and Instagram as a commerce destination. So it's exciting, and it's certainly like kind of like a green shoot opportunity. But far too early to kind of place any specific valuation on really what's just an idea with a lot of momentum at the moment.
Does Threads need to be shoppable?
No, it doesn't. If it's shoppable's nice. What you really need is you need to be able to kind of do something that, I think has long been the criticism on what you would call the closest, kind of competitor in that space is Twitter, which is, can I make the advertisements relevant to you and closer to that shopping behavior, be it downloading an application or buying a product or service. The problem with Twitter's advertising business has always been it was slightly more up funnel, so it focused more on we're launching a new product or there's a big event going on, and so you could advertise alongside it. The far more valuable ad inventory is the closer you can get to enticing a consumer to take a purchasing decision or a behavior of some sort, and that's where Meta was going to bring their treasure trove of kind of their ad targeting platform and consumer data.
So, Mark, one of the challenges they talked about in their last earnings call was there was a lot of traction with Reels, but challenges with regard to monetizing Reels. What are the features that you would want to see on this new platform in terms of addressing that as a potential issue?
So I actually think this will have few, and this is all hypothetical or theoretical, I guess, but I actually think this would have fewer monetization issues than what Reels does. Because remember what Reels does is if you think about the average minute that you'd spend on Instagram scrolling away, maybe you see 10 to 12 different posts and you could put an ad every 2 to 3 posts. And so remember the way Meta makes money is that they're taking a guess to try to figure out what you might be interested in. So the number of ads I can show you becomes really critical to how they monetize. When I'm watching a video, maybe I'm watching 2, maybe 3, Reels in any given minute. And so if I show you one ad, the number of at-bats I get to guess correctly is far more challenged. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think the Threads format is a very similar scrolling format where I could show you an ad every couple posts. And so I think it's actually far more similar to kind of the classic newsfeed model than it is the video model.
Does Threads make Meta's advertising engine or even advertising opportunity any more or less valuable ahead of the 2024 general elections, considering the actions that Meta has taken in the past to try and combat misinformation, even curbing the amount of or any types of specific advertising from officials who were seeking any type of office?
Yeah, so I guess, if I were to kind of break that question into two, the one about the election, I think it's too early to tell if they're even going to have ads on the platform by then. Kind of over the next year and a half. Because remember, the first step is it's all about engagement growth. And you don't want to be putting ads while you're trying to grow engagement because they don't necessarily kind of enhance the experience, especially at the start. So what you really want to do is kind of hit this exit velocity of engagement before you ever consider kind of inserting advertisement into it. But do I think it enhances their kind of advertisement offering to advertisers? Absolutely. They've got a product called Advantage Plus, which is effectively, an automation tool to help the advertiser figure out which ad to show which consumer, where and when. The more you have where available and the more options you have to touch them at different points in time, if they're spending more time within your ecosystem, the better it is for the advertiser.
All right. Mark Shmulik, Bernstein Internet Research Analyst. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.